Hi, I'm Eddie of Eddie's Reef-roids. Today's video is going to be a basic quick tank tour. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you where I placed the two recent acquisitions that I had gotten from Worldwide Corals, where I placed them, and then just a basic tank tour of what's been going on in this tank. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find it interesting. But before we go into it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and hit that notification bell. So let's take a deep dive into it and check it out. Okay, so here we are. Focus at the first coral that I brought up. Like people that follow me, I've explained that when it comes to corals, I mean everything basically I actually do acclimated. So here, this is the Bali green slimer, and then the other one would be the Acropora branching type, which is a little further up. Now, both of these being SPS, but this one actually being an acro. My parameters are in check. The nutrients are in check. I have NO3 of about 10, a PO4 of about 15 or 10, which is great. I feed the corals 3 times a week. As I mentioned previously, I feed them in Mondays by Reef Nutrition. I go ahead and feed them Phytofeast. Then on Wednesdays, by Polylab, of course, I go ahead and I feed the reef-roids, and I add drops of amino acids. Then on Fridays, by Reef Nutrition, I go ahead and I feed the oyster feast. My lights, due to the fact that these Radion XR15 Pros, they're very powerful, and I do have them on the RMS mount. So you're talking about what, maybe about like 9 inches or 10 from the top. So what I did is I went ahead and I brought down even further down the light schedule. Now I do have it for 12 hours like I've always had, but the brightness, if you follow me, you know that I had mentioned that I had the set baseline of 45% brightness. I'm running the AB plus but modified. So I started to bring it up 5% increments, and I noticed what you do is you bring it up 5% and then you check the corals, the behavior. And my check coral, shall we call it, was the Acropora, and it started to get like bald spots. So I brought it down, and I have it now a total brightness of 50. But as I was asking, what they told me is that on this tank I had I mean all the blues and the royal blues and purples, they're all up 100%. But when it comes to the whites and the cool whites, I had them set up at 3 hours. Then I brought them up to 4. So upon research, I found out that I should really bring it down to back to 3 hours. The total ramping up of the whites. And then, believe it or not, when it comes to the white, the cool whites and the red and greens, I had them at 20. So looking around, asking questions, and doing my little Eddie's Reef-roids researches, I should bring those down. So, but you can't bring them all in one shot. The same way that you bring up the lights, like let's say 5% a week, and you check, and another 5. Well, the same rule applies also bringing down the lights. So what I did is I brought down the cool white, the whites, the green, and the red from 20. I brought them down to 17%. And now this weekend, I'm going to bring them down to 15%. And that should do it, because since these lights are not that high, they're actually on the RMS mount. Maybe that's the issue, because everybody else is doing fine. But yet when it comes to SPS, I have issues. I have issues where they do great at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, give it a few weeks or a month, they start to pale. They start to get a little paler, and that's a sign either that it's too much light or there's an issue. So either, again, if you follow me, you've noticed on previous videos where when you look up a coral in the placement and it says medium to high level or something, that's a baseline. because it depends on the lights that you're using and then the amount of power that's hitting that water. So like I'm reiterating from previous videos. So like let's say mid-level for a tank might actually be a lower level for another tank. Why? Because of the lights. And the same thing holds true in reverse. Maybe low level coral, because of the light, you might have to bring it actually higher to a mid-level. So I'm experimenting with the cool whites and the green and the red. So let's see what happens with this green slimer. These guys are very hardy. They're actually introduction to SPS, to acros. So far, I'm up to the second week. I acclimated this little rascal for a week upon purchase on the sand. And then this last Saturday, I believe. Yeah, it was Saturday. I went ahead and I brought it up there. Now, it is on the lower part of the tank. I would say from middle to lower. I went ahead, I glued it with epoxy. I'll be checking it. So far, it's doing great. If I see any problem, then I'll bring it up. Because one rule of thumb, while we're on this coral and I'm explaining the issues with the lights and the theories and practices of lights, a coral will actually, you won't damage a coral if it's in less light than actually higher lights. Higher lights will tend to actually pale a coral and bleach it out. But yet, lower light, your corals will survive. What might happen is that they might not thrive in the sense that they might not grow. You know, they might not grow that bigger, but trust me, believe me, corals will do much, much better in lower light than actually in a higher light environment, where if it's too much for that specific coral, it won't do well. It will start to pale out and bleach. And then the next coral, of course, Monty branching, the one right over here. I place it a little higher. Let's see what happens. It's got tons of branches, as you notice on the bottom right down here. You know, so I'm checking it and see the same thing. If the same thing with the Bali green slimer. I just brought up the camera a little bit so you can get a notion of actually where we're at on the tank. So right down here you have the green slimer right there, and then further up I went ahead and I glued that little rascal also. And of course I'm checking them and see. But I have a feeling that the issue that I'm having is lighting. It has to be, because everything is in check. And hey, I've been doing this for quite a while. I do my researches and all that. So it shouldn't be any, I personally, I don't think it's a nutrient issue. Everything is in check. So it's got to be lighting. So that's where I placed this second one. And we'll be checking it and whatever. Then, of course, I'll bring you guys up to par of what's going on. Now I'm going to talk about changes, things that I moved around. Okay, if you notice, the Recordia Florida, it wasn't there. It was like more towards this area right over here. Well, I went ahead and I moved things around, because what happened is that the Recordia humus, that where that's at, where the Recordias are right here. Okay, every time, like let's say some animals, some invertebrates would pass by, like a conch snail or the pincushion and all that, it kept bothering it and tripping it. So I said, well, wait a minute. And actually, to make the color scheme more attractive and more better, so what did I do? I got the Recordia Floridas, and from this section here, I went ahead and I moved it where the humus were. So they're doing fine, they're happy. Then now I'm going to show you where I actually placed the Recordia humus. Okay, so then on the left hand side of the tank, what did I do? I got that rock with the Recordia humus, which, I mean, it keeps throwing babies and babies. You can't see it now, but there's another one that's about to pop out right down there. So I went ahead and I put it there. There's like a little cave, And when it comes to the color variation, if you notice, it looks nice. You have the lobo here, then right there you have the lobo. You have the lobo, then you have the blasto here. Then you have the organ pipe or pipe organ, and then you would have the recorder humus right there in the middle. So that's the changes that I actually did. And then the Sophostria, for whatever reason, I mean, this coral was like dormant. I don't know if it's that I have now in check the NO3 or PO4s, but man, it's the little green polyps. It doesn't grow. It really, I mean, it's a very slow grower. But the little polyps, they stand out. They come out like I was saying the other day, like a mini Acropora. Yeah, it keeps. If you look at it, you can closely see that they're popped up. They're like coming out of the actual pore, the polyp. Where before it was just like a little carpet of green Sophostria, but now all of a sudden they seem to pop up. And the rock anemone, or flower anemone, shall we call it, it's happy. It's there. It looks to me like, I mean, if I look at it closely, since I observed this tank a lot, it's kind of like it moved a little bit like towards the right, like towards, coming out like towards this area. It moved a little bit, but it's happy there, happy-go-lucky. And now here's an example of what I've talked way back in previous videos, where I say that a coral well acclimated, you can place them anywhere in your tank. Although I know I'm mentioning in this video about the things with the lights, that all my parameters are in check, and the only thing that's left that when it comes to SPS acros would be the light. But here you have a perfect example. This is a toadstool. I bought it at Worldwide Corals. It was half that size. Now, normally, toadstools, you would place them at different areas, like not way up here, but lower. And yet, look, it's doing great. It's happy. It's got long tentacles. They're elongated, and there's no problem. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video, found it interesting and fun. What I did this time, instead of shooting a long, tedious video, what I did is I just concentrated and focused on the specific corals that I thought needed more observation, and like the recent ones that I got and all that. So it wasn't a long tank tour, shall we call it. Just the main corals that I thought that all of you should actually check out and find out what was going on with these corals. So if you like the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and hit that little notification bell. And like I say at the end of all of my videos, happy reefing. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.